Welcome, everyone. This is the Metropolitan Council Committee of the Whole, and we have an agenda with one major item, and that is our quarterly update on safety and security. So we're really looking forward to that, Lesley and Chief and others. But first, there are minutes from our meeting on January 17th, which were sent out in advance. So if there's any corrections, edits, or comments, now's the time. Otherwise, I would have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, those minutes are approved. Well, it is gratifying to see our team here with presentation, and already I know from weekly meetings the progress you've made. And it is also nice to have you in person, so I don't have to read the front page of the newspaper to find out what we're doing. I'm just kidding. It's important that this is obviously an interest for more than just us, for the whole community in the region. So, and I would also, I was talking about being at a Minneapolis Downtown Council annual meeting today at lunch, and there was one slide presentation talking about the deep cooperation of Hennepin County Sheriff, the Minneapolis Chief of Police, and then they had a picture of you, Chief Morales, as also a key partner for downtown. So I just thought that was nice. They highlighted the important work that we all are doing. So, welcome.
All right, Chair, Council members, good afternoon. And if I can get the slides pulled up on the screen. All right, there you go. Oh, let's see if I can click here. Oh, too much. There we go. All right, well, good afternoon. I'm Metro Transit General Manager Lesley Kandaras, and we have several presenters today. Following me will be Chief Morales and Nikki Mulhausen, and then we'll move on to the final part of our presentation with John Levin and Sophia Guinness. So you can all introduce yourselves again when you come up here, but we do have several people to share some updates with you today. So I'm going to briefly introduce where our action plan implementation stands, some highlights since the last time we were here in November. The Chief will do his quarterly update, and then we'll do a little deeper dive into some of the work we've been advancing. So this is the kind of quarterly reminder of where the Safety and Security Action Plan came from. As you're well aware by this point in time, our Safety and Security Action Plan is our living document that's meant to capture and track all the work we're doing to improve public safety and the perception of safety on our transit system. It emerged after a couple of years of work, starting with deep community engagement during the transit safety conversations led by the Citizens League, the police work group comprised of council members that took that information and really established a vision for public safety on our system, and then asked the Metro Transit Division to take a look at that vision and really figure out how to operationalize it. So that's where the Safety and Security Action Plan comes from. Again, it's a living document. As we learn more, as we uncover new ideas or find something new to test, we've been updating it. And the document itself is broken into 3 areas of work: improving conditions on our system, training and supporting our employees, and engaging our customers and partners. So looking at Q4 of 2023, and that's mostly what we'll be focusing on today, though a lot of our work obviously spans quarters. Our implementation progress continues to move forward. We don't have any of the 43 items not started. This quarter compared to last quarter, we shifted a couple more from planning to some stage of implementation. And so work continues on this front. And I'll mention too that in addition to some of the work we'll highlight today, every quarter we've been putting together a report that includes status updates on each of the 43 action items. It also includes a lot of different metrics that we've been tracking. I think this quarter it totaled about 46 pages, so it's a lot of information to consume, and we just kind of scratched the surface in this. But certainly if you have questions in this meeting, or we can follow up with you if you have questions about the status of particular items we're not focusing on today. And part of what I wanted to visit about is, really looking at Q4 of 2023, we made significant progress on our attempt to really expand layers of presence on our system. And really, I would say compared to a year ago, we've really made noticeable strides as it comes to having additional official personnel on our system. So, of course, presence includes our police officers from the Metro Transit Police Department. Metro Transit's community service officers have started spending more time on the system. On December 4th, community service officers began routine fare inspection and issuing administrative citations. So that's one development since the last time we were here in November. We have them out on the light rail system doing that work. Supplemental security officers, back in March of 2023 was when the council authorized our contract with Allied. We currently have 7 locations with supplemental security officers, and that has really demonstrated to be a useful tool in deterring some behaviors at our highly used stations. The Transit Service Intervention Project, we did a deeper dive at this in previous committee of the wholes, but again, this came out of the Transportation Omnibus this past session. It required us to kick off the Transit Service Intervention Project on June 1st, and the leadership of the Homeless Action Team really made that quick turnaround possible. Over the course of last year, the council approved 2 sets of contracts for a total of 10 contracts with community-based organizations that are now out on the system, conducting outreach, connecting people to resources, and so forth. So we're in the process of supporting them and learning from that, and anticipated will really guide our work in that area moving forward. And then the Transit Rider Investment Program, another development, is really the continued building of Transit Rider Investment Program, or abbreviated TRIP. Again, one piece of that was the administrative citations, and so we're with the CSOs allowing us to start civilian fare inspection, we're starting to learn how that process goes. And the next piece of this is to actually have TRIP agents on the system as well. So you might recall back in December, the council approved a contract amendment that allowed us to expand our contract with Allied Universal to include TRIP agent services. So starting on February 23rd, we will have TRIP agents begin their field training, so people start seeing them yet this month. Our plan is to have 24 TRIP agents a day spread across 2 shifts, 7 days a week. So that's the target, and feel that's a good place to start, see how that goes. And certainly, as we've been talking about moving in this direction for several years now, as we've advocated for the Administrative Citations Authority, we recognize that as our system grows, it's very likely that personnel will need to grow too. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the chief, and I'll just note too, the chief is coming up on his 1-year anniversary. Really appreciate the work he's been doing, and I'll turn it over to him to provide an update. So.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, council members. It's a great pleasure to be here once again before you, especially as I approach my first year. 2023 was a great year. We have a lot to be happy about, a lot of progress made. From Q1 to Q4, we had a 25% decrease in crime. But I want to emphasize that the last quarter was a little challenging, as I stated the last time we were here in front of, I was here in front of council. I said that I would anticipate that crime would tick up. In the Q4, it ticked up slightly, 12%. However, we have made moves and strategized to get more presence on our system. And we've taken a 6-layered approach. And that 6-layered approach are police officers, community service officers, supplemental security, community-based partners, Transit Rider Investment Program, that'll be introduced February 23rd, and Metro Transit employees through our Great Day in Transit. I have to say that overall, even from Q1 to Q4, dispatch calls for service went down, and officer-initiated calls went up 24%. It shows how proactive we're being on the system.
Mr. Chair, just could we get the slide for the public to advance with us? Because I think
I'm sorry, this should have been me.
Okay, sorry.
That was my mistake. I
It's good news, and I want everybody to see.
Yes.
So.
Well, you're going ahead. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, overall, as I stated, Q1 to Q4, dispatch calls for service went down, while officer-initiated calls went up 24%. As a result, there has been a 44% decrease in the number of customer complaints related to public safety on the light rail from Q1 to Q4. When we look at overall crime, the crime trends, Q1 to Q2, we had minus 14%. Q2 versus Q3, we had minus 22 reduction in crime. Q3 versus Q4, as I stated, a slight uptick, 12% in crime. But Q1 to Q4, we had overall decrease of crime, 25%. Top 7 crimes. For Q1, Q2, we had an increase of 8%. When we compared Q2 to Q3, we had a decrease of 11%. Q3, Q4, we had a decrease of 10%. Overall, when you compare Q1 to Q4, we had a decrease of 13%. This included for 7 major crimes: homicides, sex offenses, robberies, assaults, lost knee thefts, motor vehicle thefts, and burglaries, breaking and entry. Again, a 13% decrease in crime Q1 to Q4. Annual crime trends. When you compare the year 2023 to 2022, we saw an increase 32% when you compare this year to last year. Nevertheless, remember this year we've made great strides in improving for that 25% crime decrease. I want to once again emphasize that we had an increase in ridership of 15% over the year 2023, and that's something to celebrate. We're heading in the right direction. Officer-initiated calls were also up 45%.
Mr. Chair, just could I ask a quick question on that stat? Again, from my former life as a city official, total crimes reported, so 2 things could be going on: more crimes or more people reporting crimes. And I'm assuming we're really working on people to get into the system to report as well. So can you just comment on that too? With more people on the system, I think more people are trying to partner with us in a way to report things. Would that be a fair statement?
Chair? Member, yes, absolutely, your point. And with the increase of 15%, this shows that we have more people on the system, therefore we're going to have more reported incidences taking place. And we absolutely appreciate that. We want people to not only utilize our system, but we want them to report incidences when they witness them and when they're a victim of them, so that we can further investigate them positively and proactively.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if a rider wanted to report a crime or have a question or concern, how do they report those?
So they can do it, if it's an emergency, I recommend that the individual immediately call 911. The local jurisdiction will arrive, that will be dispatched to our transit control center, and they will dispatch one of our MTPD officers. Or if they're on the train and they don't want to necessarily have a call, they can do text for safety. And that's 612, I'm drawing the blank now, 612, hold on.
It's posted on.
Yes, it's posted. I know this number by heart.
We believe you.
It's 612, I'm gonna say 600-411.
And it's all over the
0411. And it's all over transit, you have to look for the signs, but they're there, they're clearly posted. But we do have our text for safety number, that'll go to our transit control center as well, and it will be dispatched to our officers. I will say that when you do text for safety, or you do call 911, it's incumbent upon public members from the public to convey an exact description of the individual they're dealing with. Because by the time we respond there, sometimes the complainant is gone and we're left looking for the individual responsible for the negative behavior. So the more information you can give us, the more detailed information you can give us, the better. It will help us greatly.
Chief, quick question if I may.
Go ahead.
Can people text a photo to that number?
Yes, they can. You just have to be cautious about how you go about taking that photo. I wouldn't want you to aggravate the individual, but yes, you can text a photo into text for safety.
I've texted a photo before and got a message back that they can't view the, I tried to text a video, that's what it was, a short video, and they could not see that for whatever reason.
Right. The capability is, doesn't allow us to upload it. It's time sensitive.
Gotcha.
When we looked at dispatch calls for service, quarter one versus quarter two, we had an increase of 10%. Quarter two versus quarter three, there was an increase of 6%. Quarter three versus quarter four, we had a decrease of 34%. When we looked at quarter one to quarter four, we had a further decrease of 24%. Despite reported crime, dispatch calls for service dropped in 2023, while a number of officer-initiated calls increased. Again, the data reinforces the impact of proactive policing. We have our individual officers out there visible, and they are being proactive, and they are initiating these calls.
So Chief, we can't say this enough, because if there's a headline that says crime is up 32%,
Yes.
and we kind of are fielding community concerns that, oh, crime is really going the wrong direction. And I say, time out, this is the reports were mostly officer initiated, which means this crime was happening all along. We are just now doing something about it, so which is why you're reading the reports. Am I wrong with that
No,
answer?
you're absolutely right. We have more ridership, we have more presence of police officers out in the system, taking more reports and being proactive, making arrests. But I want to, just to make this clear, they are not the major 7 arrests, they are the quality of life arrests. So this is vandalism throughout the system, this is drug use, this is false names, fare evasion. So these are quality of life crimes, not 7 major crimes.
So I would prefer, but I'm not writing the headline, that if it said enforcement is up, as opposed to crime is up.
That would
Would
be,
that be accurate?
yes, that would
Would
be
my
accurate,
kid
and that would be a
accurate?
favorable headline that I would look forward to.
Obviously, that's not what we have, but I just think it's important for us to have our minds around where we are, what we're doing. A, not just for our own confidence that we're heading in the right direction, but 2, that we should not be afraid of reporting when we have an officer-initiated reports, because that's what they are. And I think as we go into the future years, there'll be more apples to apples.
Correct, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So to that point, and now that you're on other channels on social media, everybody follow them on Instagram and X. Can you put some of that data out there that we can share, or Mr. Chair? I don't know if it warrants an op-ed or something, but just some sort of response, because you know, I read that and I'm hearing about it, but the minute I got into paragraph 1-2, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Even the subhead was kind of some good news. So I think we don't just I'm just tired of, we have a lot of work to do here. We know that. We are in it. But at the same time, I don't think we should just let that stuff sit out there without some kind of positive response. And we'll take the hits when we should, and we're working on it, but that one bugged me.
Chair and members, I share your sentiment as well. And as I continue on into the presentation, you'll see our mitigation factors for your concerns.
Okay.
When we look at this next graph here, officer-initiated calls for the year, you can see a dramatic turn in the numbers of those officer-initiated calls for service from quarter 3 to quarter 4, bringing proactive policing calls to an increase of 23%. So this is the proactive policing that you're talking about. This is them getting them out of their cars, getting them into the system, getting them onto the vehicles to report these incidences, and the proactive policing they're taking, whether it's directed patrols or taking enforcement action. When we talk about numbers and staffing, we have a FTE or full-time employment numbers of 171. Currently, we were at 113 for the quarter. Part-time officers, FTEs, full-time employment numbers of 80. We were currently at 33. Community service officers, FTEs were 70, currently at 13. And other support staff positions, civilian positions, were FTEs of 34, currently at 29. Realizing that we had a recruitment issue, we started a new community service officer pathways program. This involves individuals who have no law enforcement experience or degrees that are required. We put them into a bridge program. In this bridge program, they take 4 college courses, earning up to 12 college credits. Upon completion of this, they are then enrolled into our traditional community service officer program, which is a 2-year criminal justice degree. We offer a candidate who is eligible up to $18,000 tuition reimbursement. And our recruitment campaign. Clearly, as part of this new year, we introduced wrapping around buses, kiosks, train stations, bus shelters, and digital signage. We have officers on there now saying, "We want you." We're recruiting not only in-state, but out-of-state as well. We launched that campaign in January. That's one. Now I would like to play our recruitment video for the council.
Nice.
Nicely done.
It's great.
Thank you. I share Lenny Mitchell's sentiments. There is a day that I regret coming to Minnesota. With that, another part of our recruitment and retention plan is to strengthen our communication, both externally and internally. In Q4, we hired a new principal communication specialist who will serve as MTPD's public information officer, or our PIO, and will help lead public safety issues for Metro Transit as a whole. This is Nikki Muhlhausen. I'd like to introduce her.
Thank you, Chief. Council members, Chair, I'm excited to be here and to make sure that the stories of the Metro Transit Police Department are shared and amplified with the public. I joined Metro Transit after an 18-year career in television and digital journalism, the past 8 of which were at Care 11 as their executive producer. In my first 2.5 months here in this role, I've had the opportunity to shadow several officers and CSOs and have observed what they're called upon to do each and every day. They're on the front lines addressing some of the most challenging issues in our country, those struggling with mental health or addiction disorders or homelessness. And I want every person to walk in the shoes of an MTPD officer, if only for a few hours. And the best way to do that right now, as we know, is through social media. So as of Monday, the MTPD is now active online with accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and X. and took a count before we got here. We have hundreds of followers, 300 already in just the first 48 hours. So each week I plan to share the tireless efforts being made to improve public safety on transit. So please like, follow, share, and support the Metro Transit Police Department and their work. The handles are Metro Transit PD on Facebook and Instagram, and then MTPDMN on X. Thank you.
As I stated, as I approach my first year here, I want to share that I came here with a plan and a vision for the department. And now seeing to be fitting is a fitting time to make that plan and vision crystal clear, not just to the men and women I lead, but also to the public. We want to begin with our new vision, plan, and our model. Mission first, people always. We know that we have a tough job in Metro Transit, particularly in Metro Transit Police Department, and that's why we're committed to the mission first. But in the process, we must recognize our people always, because it takes people to do this job, to report, to get up and go out every day to serve our public. And we understand the personal sacrifices that our employees make every day, so we worry about their well-being and their physical health as well. So our mission first, but people always. I'm committed to our staff by building a strong culture and prioritizing the overall well-being of each and every member in the MTPD. Committed to training and education by giving everyone the opportunity to grow with the department. Committed to our community by investing in innovative solutions and building and strengthening partnerships to address larger societal issues together. Committed to trust and integrity through open communication and operating with transparency. Committed to technology by continuously looking to what's ahead while using state-of-the-art equipment and data now to guide our methods. And here, I'm committed to leading Metro Transit Police Department to its brightest chapter yet by building a culture that is well respected throughout Minnesota and beyond. That culture is one that encourages collaboration, promotes innovation and proactivity, addresses emerging challenges with strategic solutions. A culture where the professional and personal growth and well-being of each and every member of the MTPD is paramount to our overall success. At the MTPD, we take pride in leading with integrity, empathy, and professionalism. With that, I'll take any questions the council may have. Thank you for your time.
Let's start with you, Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. We have heard about the number of officers, the additional security, the trip folks coming on board next month, which is great. I'm just wondering, and I'm not looking for specific numbers here, but let's say it's March 15th, in a month or so. We got the trip folks on board. Say it's 8 o'clock. How many more people of all the additional security, the trip folks, the officers that are like on trains, how many more bodies will we have around our system than we would, say, a year before? Roughly. Not looking for specific numbers,
Chair, council member, that's great, because when we roll out our trip agents as of February 23rd, we will have a complete 24, 2 teams, 2 shifts of 12 each. Along with our CSOs out there as well. So they will go into a field training program for approximately 5 weeks with our CSOs, as well as those 12 trip agents on each tour. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and from 2 p.m. to 2200 hours or 10 p.m. So we'll have 2 shifts divided between the blue and the green. But furthermore, after the 5-week program is over, I will then reassign the community service officers out onto our BRTs. We plan on starting at the Brooklyn Transit Center there, where we're going to have TAP agents there to help sign people up for reduced fares. And then we will remind everyone through education of their duty and responsibility to once again pay their fares. We will then assign CSOs on the front and the rear of the buses to check fares as individuals get on board the vehicles.
And so just a clarification, so 12 people shift for the trip.
For true.
And then we have 13 CSOs.
We'd have 13
Will,
CSOs,
and,
yes.
and they're not working 24 hours, so there's like half of them, roughly out of one shift.
Yes, with our community-based partners as well. So right there, you're talking about an officer presence. I would say on a given shift, you have approximately 20 more bodies out there.
Then we would, 20 more bodies than we would March of 2020.
I would say approximately maybe estimate 15 more, 12 to 15 more.
Than we would have the year prior.
Correct,
12 to 15 more.
12 to 15.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Barber, then Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to ask a question for Councilmember Vento, and then I have one of my own, because Councilmember Vento is watching us remotely because she's under the weather today. So she is curious with the additional security in those 7 areas, has that security in those areas moved, some of the bad actors and their acts to areas adjacent to different places? Are you seeing some of that, and what are we doing?
Chair, council member. Thank you, great question. I appreciate that, to follow up with the progress, because I have to state, when I came here a year ago, the first stop that really alarmed me, there were several stops that alarmed me, but the first stop that really alarmed me was when I got to Lake and Hiawatha. It was overrun by drug dealers, organized drug dealing was taking place there, and I immediately realized that this is where we had to make a stand. We initially assigned police officers there for 16-hour tours. However, that was unsustainable for their health and well-being, as I just mentioned. We then contracted with supplemental security. We put them on there. We have entered into a long-term 2-year contract. As a result of that relationship and 24-hour coverage at the Lake and Hiawatha Station and Franklin Avenue Station, crime has gone down a whopping 90%. It is a beautiful example of what a station should be. We still have a ways to go. We have surrounding areas that are problems. So when people want to point their fingers at transit, what I ask you is to say, what is the core issue that is going on in the community surrounding the transit facility? When we resolve those core issues surrounding the transit facilities, we will resolve the issues within transit itself.
Melissa?
All right, thank you. So my question has to do with the ADRT system. So obviously, it's different things that we're seeing. I agree that the first thing would be the LRTs. 100% agree with that. And this might be a combined question for you and Lesley. But what we're seeing on the ADRTs is a lot of it's the fare enforcement part. And are we going to do some additional marketing information like we've done on the LRT system about the fare enforcement?
Chair, council member, yes, as I stated, we plan on going out to BCTC first to start every educational campaign, reminding everybody their responsibility, coming out with a transit assistance program, reduced fares to help individuals that are in need to qualify for reduced fares, help them fill out their applications. But then we will have a repeated campaign throughout the region of your duty and responsibility and the assistance we afford while having CSOs on those lines and vehicles to start fare enforcement.
Sure.
Now I'm going to channel yet another council member, so I'm the conduit today. Council member Wolf is not here, and as under the weather as well. And it sort of goes to some of this, and it actually is how are we going to be tracking what like the follow-up, like both of when somebody is arrested, when somebody is given an administrative citation, what's the follow-up and how are we monitoring that?
Well, I can tell you today, as of December 4th, 2023, we've conducted approximately 12,500 inspections and we issued approximately 800 citations. So we do follow up, we do identify the individuals. When they are repeat offenders, they are placed on our trespass list. We then hand that over to our police officers as part of our intelligence package. They then go out, and if they deal with these individuals again, they remove them from the system.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. I think one of the questions is we know that there's a concern that your officers, local officers will arrest somebody and then they sometimes move into the system, typically to the county system, and then don't get charged. And I think that's the kind of gist of what the question that we're getting at, and I don't know if we have a mechanism to track that or know what happens.
Chair, council member. So interestingly enough, I just had a meeting last week in St. Paul with, and one of the members of that committee was Assistant Attorney John Choi. We agreed that we would follow up on finding a long-term pragmatic solution to this issue. We had a lot robust conversation on our future steps moving forward. And I scheduled a meeting with Hennepin County that was unfortunately canceled to be rescheduled so that we can follow up on these conversations. However, the last meeting I did have with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, we did agree to charge narcotics usage on our vehicles with fifth-degree narcotics possession.
All right, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Councilmember Chambliss, then Johnson.
Oh, thank you, Chair, and I really appreciate the detailed presentation that we've had today, and the plans that have been implemented thus far. My question is, what might perhaps be the psychological impact of the presence of our TRIP agents, our community service officers, and our homeless action team members on our light rail trains and some of our bus shelters and things like that. And do we know how that might set the stage to change behavior and reduce crime, because they have a presence. We're setting a standard for our code of conduct and what will and will not be considered acceptable. We can't be everywhere, but we can set the standard. And a lot of the issues, I think, are done by young people, and setting the standard is a requirement for them, for their behavior. So can you speak to that at all?
Chair. Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate the question. I can tell you that the more people we have out in the system, the better approach and response that we have. The minute that individuals who are suffering from addiction, whether they're unsheltered or they have a mental health crisis, we offer them the services. However, they have to voluntarily want these services. In any event, we continue to offer them. If they don't want these services, what we do without presence, our mere presence, has them move out the system voluntarily. So at the next stop, we see them get off the stops, and within several stops, the cars are clean. But as you stated earlier, we can't be on every vehicle at every moment. So it's still problematic. We still have a long way to go, and a recruiting effort is part of the plan to improve the conditions as we see them, and also building our community-based partners and relying on everybody, because it is a shared responsibility.
That's the key. Thanks.
Thanks. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really appreciate the reporting question, because I've been asking too, the system, how many get back on the line. So if we can get some data at some point, we've got great research people who track that kind of stuff. That would be helpful to us, at least at a political level. And I've been wanting that for some time. Also, it'll be interesting too on the data for the 800 plus citations on the fare evasion. How many of those were paid? How many of those were converted into, they took some training and then were able to proceed legally, all that. That kind of data helps policymakers too. I think, and certainly not for today, but percentages are great, but sometimes it's good to see the raw numbers too. That, it's all taken in context. We're moving in the right direction, but just the sheer numbers tell a story too. So I'd be interested in that, maybe in the future, some examples of that. I'm not sure if it's just young people doing things. I just, want to be cautious of that. But, if there's data around any of the demographics, then that'd be good data that we could, so we don't have to, maybe suppose something, or I'm not sure, but I just like data and demographics of what's going on. And then back to our, well, first of all, thanks for your hard work and seeing where this is going. It is moving in the right direction, and I appreciate that. And I know, though, we're still having a challenge hiring. So I like where we're going with outside of Minnesota, great. Love that, love all the collateral that you put around that. And with that said, you know, have we, again, it's kind of data, but as people still leave MTPD, are we capturing why they're leaving? I know we must be exit interviews, and are there some threads there that we can act upon? So obviously it could be just another department offering more money, you know, enticing our folks away, all the things, just, but there are, you know, people who are extremely happy here and just aren't gonna leave, but I just know from conversations with officers over time, some have left, that, you know, we gotta get at least a handle on that, or at least be at par with what's normal attrition, right? And I just don't know where we're at with that. And then that leads me to my question around, you know, we are making strides on all of our modes as we bring people back. I think, I'm not sure if we're 60% on, is a bus, LRT, or all, you know, pre-pandemic. We're not there yet. World's changed with travel patterns, which has a big impact on that as well. But as we bring on new lines, proposed lines, you know, we have to be confident that we, in 3 years, are going to have the complement that we need. And I really appreciate the support that this council, because we have your back, you know, we're bringing an allied supplemental and we've added to that, those contracts. It could become permanent as long as Allied wants to be a partner. I don't know though if that's our permanent ultimate solution, but you know, I think, you know, we're in the moment, you certainly are visionary, and yet, you know, data and trends are gonna tell us probably where we'll be in the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, and those are critical moments for us too, as we are trying to bring on new lines, but also lines that have gone offline or been adjusted, and we see people coming back. So, you know, it's not for an answer today, but this is something, and I say this to think just every meeting, these are some of those risks that we really need to be paying attention to, because that window of time is closing. And if you think 36 months is go mode for Southwest, and that is a very short amount of time, and it is a long line. And so I just put that out there because kudos, but as this department is you know, reinventing and reinvigorating a police department and gaining respect, and we're moving in the right direction, the pressure is on as we continue to go, and guess what, you're getting more. And you know, I don't want anything that's gonna disrupt the progress that you've made in those critical areas that we have. So I'm just saying that as put a pin in that, everybody, because if you need more, if there's anything else we can do, ask now, because time goes so fast. And I just wanna make sure you've got all the resources you need as one council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Perry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, thanks for the vision and the work, but I was just wondering, what do you see as the single biggest bar to further implementing your program? Because, of course, we know the system's gonna grow, so the problems, even some of the smaller problems are hopefully not, but they likely are gonna become bigger problems. So what do you see as the single biggest bar to implementing your program?
Well, there are several factors right now. I mean, I don't want to get into Chair. Member,
Please.
yes. I don't want to get into contractual talks, but we are in contract negotiations right now. I think that the members of the MTPD are looking for a contract that rewards them and is recognized in the region as being competitive in the market. But aside from that, we need support, the same support that I feel that I receive from this council. It begins here, and I need that to transcend into the region, other council members, other cities that we represent. When the police officers feel that they're supported by their councils, by their politicians, it'll encourage young individuals to enter the profession of law enforcement and serve the people as public servants. So support, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Chief Miles? All right, well, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it, and I can't believe a year has gone by, but it's all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, John, and Sophia.
Hello, Chair and Council members. My name is John Levin. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives for Metro Transit, and I realize sitting here that I haven't had an opportunity to meet most of you in this council, so it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. And joined by Sophia Guinness, the Director of Community Affairs for Metro Transit. So we're going to talk about two specific items today. The first is the legislative report on transit safety and rider experience, and I'll cover that. And then Sophia will cover your role as a rider, the new campaign we're rolling out. So the transit safety and rider experience legislative report. So as you know, and the safety and security action plan work has been underway for several years, and it really kind of encompasses all the work that we're doing. The 2023 Minnesota legislature really supported that work and had a number of specific funding areas and kind of specific areas of requirement that have advanced that work. And so several of those areas specifically had specific requirements for reporting, and so there's a number of areas where you've already heard about specific areas of reporting back to the legislature on that work. One of the specific pieces that the legislature required was a more comprehensive, holistic view of the work that we're doing across Metro Transit and across all of the elements that the legislature had required. And so this is under statute 473.4077 and due next week on February 15th. The legislation had specific areas that it required reporting on, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But we really wanted to use the opportunity of this requirement to really take a step back and provide a really more holistic view of that work that we're doing, that you're seeing in the Safety and Security Action Plan. And so we added a number of additional pieces to the report, again, to provide the overview. The other thing I'll say about this report is this is the first year of the report. It will be required and prepared annually. What we're doing in this first year is really introducing a lot of the efforts, because a lot of these are new elements. And then as we look to the future, we'll expect that we'll see more of the results, and there's some of the questions that have already come up. We'll see more of the results, and we'll see the report that becomes sort of more results focused. So looking at the required elements, again, many of these were covered elsewhere in statute, but what the legislature asked for is first an overview of safety issues and actions that we're taking, and again, a lot of that is part of the overall Safety and Security Action Plan. They asked for a specific kind of an update on the Code of Conduct work, the Transit Rider Investment Program, including administrative citations. And they asked for some data elements around the number of inspections and citations, the staffing for MTBD and TRIP, and crime rate information. I will say that what they asked for within legislation is a much higher level than what you're seeing in these quarterly reports. They're asking for annual numbers over the past 3 years. So it's a little bit different way of reporting it, but it's similar to the information that you've seen in these quarterly reports all along. And then finally, they're asking, for recommendations on, how staff thinks and how the council thinks we might make improvements in the future. And again, in this first year, we're really looking to talk about the implementation, and in future years providing more information on results and recommendations. And then the additional elements, again, are things that you've heard about before, and we really are just taking the opportunity to bring these all together in a single comprehensive report. So the customer engagement work that we're doing overall, the supplemental security program, the transit service intervention project, which was also required under statute, cleaning and repair standards and the work that we're doing there, and then some pieces around light rail platforms and the work that we're doing to improve the paid fare zone information and the platform study that we have underway. So all of these kind of are put together into a single comprehensive report that will be delivered to the legislature within a week, and we'll also make sure we provide all the council members a copy of that report as well. So that's my piece, and maybe stop for questions if there are any, and then we can move on to
questions for John? All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, it's public,
Sure.
and we'll get a copy of that.
We're gonna get a copy.
Yep, absolutely.
Chair, council members, Sophia Guinness, Director of Community Affairs, she, her pronouns, feel free to call me Sophia. I get to jump in a little bit and focus on how we are engaging and communicating with our customers on the system in support of many of the things that we have been talking about tonight. And I'm gonna kind of touch on some of the signage that you're gonna see on the system, as well as kind of our overall campaign efforts to really emphasize and support a lot of this work. And I also need to give a shout out to many folks within Metro Transit that are helping to make this possible, and including Nikki, who is now my partner in anti-crime, as we communicate with our customers. So first, one of the big pushes that you'll see, and as you all remember, a code of conduct was adopted by all of you. Because we're also communicating illegal activities, we've focused a lot of that language around your role as a rider. It's both our code of conduct in those pieces. And I'll also touch a little bit on how we're really emphasizing, actually Councilmember Chambliss asked about this, really helping our customers understand and see how to report problems on our system, really encouraging that engagement and support of what our police are seeing. So new signage has been rolled out, and I'll go through two of the signs in a second, at all of our BRT stops, all of our light rail platforms, and all of our transit centers. This is the example of your role as a rider sign. I hope all of you have seen them out now on the system. They are meant to be bold and bright and big, and really kind of give that visual message to our riders. And it's important because not only are we asking people, but we're also have that enforcement side, right? Is that our officers will be able to remove folks if they are not adhering to our rules for riding. And so, you know, the other support folks that you've heard we've mentioned tonight, and they can give warnings and then rely on the police if needed. Here's an example of how we've emphasized reporting problems to our customers. So in addition to the code of conduct signs, specific report problems signs are now at all those same places. Leading into, with emergencies, you still need to call 911, but we also have other venues and vehicles to let us know that there's issues, from maintenance, something's broken or dirty, to, hey, I'm getting a little uncomfortable on the train right now, I need to text with somebody, and we have the text for safety information as well. Subsequently, with the signs, that ease of reporting is getting updated and improved on our website, and will always be something that we look at to ensure that customers can reach us efficiently. And then this piece is kind of what I call the parent campaign. So not only is it the enforcement side, but really appealing to our riders to set the standards of our shared spaces. So Take Pride in Your Ride is the parent campaign with the subtext, a safe, comfortable transit system starts with you. And it's not out in the world yet. Those are rendered pictures and examples. You'll see that later. And it, just like having the code of conduct started some of our work in terms of signage and messaging, the Take Pride in Your Ride is also the start of work that we'll be doing over the next year. You'll be seeing us, and beyond most likely, a year at a time, we'll be focusing on some of the things that we know affect the customer experience the most, and really going into that experience. As part of developing the Take Pride in Your Ride campaign, we met with both some of our TSIP agents that are out and about communicating messages, as well as our equity and inclusion team, to really think about those messages. And we'll continue to touch base and check in. One of the first things you'll see as a sub of Take Pride in Your Ride is basically anti-smoking or quit smoking messaging. February will be a Love Your Lungs focused. And as early as next week, if you are riding our light rail, you'll hear messages from children ages 12 to 3 asking customers not to smoke in our shared spaces. And basically the message that they will be saying is, first, love your lungs, right? We're appealing to you. You are a person. You might have issues with quitting smoking. We'll have some of those resources as part of raising transit, but also emphasizing the message from a kid saying, you harm my health if you smoke in our shared space. So, you know, the enforcement is piece of it, but also really trying to lean into these community messages, the fact that we actually do care about each other, that when we realize that we're in shared space, that transit is a communal space and we can think of each other, hopefully that will also have an impact on behavior. And it's not Metro Transit saying, hey, don't do this stuff on our system. It's saying, hey, this is ours. Let's take care of it together. And hey, there are things that you can do as a rider in this shared space to make it better for everybody. And so let's do this together.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
is it all in English?
No, we will also have messages in other languages. Of the availability of kids that we had at our recording today, there's Spanish, and we'll be continuing to expand that.
Thank you.
Tony.
Thank you so much. I very much appreciate the Take Pride in Your Ride campaign as positive reinforcement of the kinds of behaviors we want to see, respectful and caring behaviors that support all of us to ride transit safely and comfortably. And this, to my mind, is about the discussion that we had around code of conduct and knowing that we have to have that is necessary. You have to clearly communicate what is not allowed and what is legal. But also the culture change that happens when we address it more positively. And I see this as doing that. I would have a question about what may have escaped me, and maybe we talked about this before, but what can be a part of the Take Pride in Your Ride campaign with respect to littering, you know? And so I would hope that there is a part of the campaign that is planned as we, talk about the need to have clean environment, a neat environment for transit. I really think that fits here. I don't think we said anything about littering in our code of conduct, which
It's in there.
Chair, council member, we're reading our collective minds. Littering is one of the, we're still kind of mapping out the calendar for the year and how we'll focus in. Smoking's number one, kind of February, March. But don't trash our transit, or message in development will be one of the things that we've identified. We actually had the kids say a couple things. We may or may not use the audio, but since we had them there, we figured we'd get a couple of messages and for the kind of that. We're moving the ship. We're designing the ship as we're going, and so we had the kids record a few things, but we may not use them based on just the powerful the message of shared health is. So to be decided.
Yeah.
But we were thinking of it.
Peter, then Judy.
Great presentation, thank you. I'm just curious what you would say to someone who's skeptical about someone who would say, hey, why would somebody not smoke or not drop a piece of trash on the bus because there's a sign on the side of the bus? You know what I mean? What would you say to someone who said that to you?
Chair, Councilmember Lindstrom, it's a multifaceted approach, right? So if we don't take any effort to communicate this, we don't take effort to appeal to people, we won't chip away at that behavior. And really in starting to test out this campaign, I think it kind of appeals to people a little bit. And there's kind of this recognition that, I think also as we go out into our system, there's certain things that people do that bother other customers that there's maybe not as much awareness of. For example, not listening to music or phone calls with headphones. is an example. And then it's a piece of the work that's being overlapped with what our police department is doing and others. So will a sign solve the problem? No. But could campaigns and engaging with our riders be part of the solution? Help move the needle even just a little bit? Yes, and that is the goal.
Yeah, go ahead,
Chair,
Lesley.
I really appreciate you asking that question, and you know, as we've been out engaging with our own employees and with customers as part of our broader Metro Transit Forward work, I think part of what this campaign helps us do is show to riders who do follow all the rules that is something we recognize and expect. You know, I think there's some sense of wanting to see us talk more about this, even if it isn't directly a deterrent. And so, I mean, I think Sophia said it perfectly in terms of it's one piece of a much broader set of strategies, but I think my hope personally is this will help address some of the concerns that avid transit riders have expressed to us, that they want to see us take, you know, ownership and build pride in the system. So anyway, thank you.
For sure.
Right,
Could I
John,
add one
do you have
thing to that
something?
too? So, because riding a lot on both light rail and buses, I think peer pressure is also really important. The most effective to behavior change is peer pressure. And I think this actually helps peers to put pressure on those who aren't doing things. So I'll just add that as I think another potential benefit of the campaign.
all right, thank you. Yeah, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank all of you. This is really taking shape. And I would say that both as a rider myself, especially I'm primarily light rail, but also out on listening tours, spent a day on the blue line, a day on the green line. We were a little chilly, but we survived. But it was really a great opportunity to talk to different groups of people, everyone from the cops to the CSOs to the people working on the TSIT programs to riders to community activists. We got a little of everything. And by and large, really the message that I heard over and over is that things are getting better. We're not there yet, and some of it is we can't be everywhere all at one time, and so something will pop up, but they're starting to see out in the community that this sort of layered work between having a presence, the enforcement, and the messaging is all starting to come together. And I have to say, I'm actually really proud of how far we've come, because you know, even in a year going out and riding the system, it feels different, and I think that our routine riders are really getting to see that as well. And we definitely heard it, because we heard good, bad, ugly, everything, but it would usually end with something at a minimum. They know that we're trying, and they know that we're working at it, and I think that's key. Just like to take pride in your ride, to know that we are really trying, and it's a group effort with multifaceted approaches. And then the last thing is, I've always talked about transit being a community of its own. It's almost an extension of our communities, but a community of its own. So this Take Pride in Your Ride campaign, to me, that's, you know, how do we make that and bring that sense of community back to the system? And I really think that this is just a lovely start, and I love that you're using kids for some of the messaging, because those messages will be more powerful out of those young voices. So thank you.
Great comment, thank you. Judy.
I'm gonna defer to Councilmember Lilligren, because I went already, so.
All right.
Robert, you
Yeah,
haven't spoken yet?
thanks.
You can-
I know, I've been
jumping
usually
online.
quiet tonight,
Yeah.
so no, just thanks for the presentation. I want to thank everyone here. Sophia, I just had a question about a clarification about Take Pride in Your Ride, and you were calling it something, and to me it sounded like parent, like a parent, is that?
Over the next year, as we focus on elements of the code of conduct, the theme of Take Pride in Your Ride is kind of the thing that'll translate through all of those pieces.
So, all right, so you were saying parent.
Yeah, so yes.
Oh, I thought you had the kids' parents. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, and so, and I appreciate Councilmember Lindstrom's question, and I appreciate your responses as well. And I do think, John, this idea of peer pressure, over here I said shame-based, activity when I was a kid. So the older people in this room will remember it. It was about being a litter bug.
Yes.
Don't be a litter bug. And you started to enforce that with your peers, don't be a litter bug. And so I really look forward to this, Take Pride in Your Ride, campaign, and I also, publishing sort of our expectations, right, your roles of riders. I think that'll give riders, who aren't misbehaving, you know, confidence that we care about that, but also something to point to, you know, and I think making our expectations known, I think is gonna be really helpful in just sort of changing the culture. Just a couple other points, Chair, if I may. I just wanna really lift up these quarterly reports. I think they are so helpful, and this is a fairly new thing on the council that came out of our safety planning, and I'll tell you, I just feel so much more informed and prepared to discuss these issues out in the communities than I ever did before we were doing this. So thanks for taking this direction very seriously and for presenting as well as you do. I really like our balanced approach of prevention and enforcement, you know, and I feel like a lot of what you two have presented is in the sort of prevention category, but it kind of goes all the way across. And I think, did you, Sophia, use the term anti-crime? Or who said that? Okay, yeah. So I like that, that resonates with me. The code to report broken things or dirty things, I think is just right on. And actually, we were at the Green Line Extension Corridor Management Committee today, and this came up amongst one of the committee members, I had been county commissioner. How do you report something? How do you report something if an elevator's out or an escalator's out? And so now that I know that we'll have this, I feel like we have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Again, better prepared to kind of discuss things out in the community. And I think these visible methods that we're taking are gonna have an impact. And you know, the most important thing, get more people on transit, get more people on trains. And one of my operating principles since I started organizing on my block in the 1980s is good traffic drives out bad traffic. And if there's more good traffic going on our transit, there's less space for bad things to be happening. And then the final thing is I just wanna thank everyone, starting with the director, the chief, but everyone who's presented here and the teams that you represent, just about the tangible change. And who was it that's down? Councilmember Barber was just saying that. So in the district I represent, I have the Midtown LRT station at Lake Hiawatha, the Franklin LRT station, the Uptown Transit station, and the Orange Line station. And the three kind of most troublesome ones I have felt are the Midtown, the Franklin, and the Uptown. And I would get contacts as I'm a council member, but just also just moving through the community, just hearing constant complaints about those three stations. And I'll just tell you how a turnaround it has been with the transit service intervention program and the targeted efforts at the troublesome spots. And some of it is directed to me as a council member, emails and things, but a lot of it is just spontaneous that I hear out in the community. And I know people hear me say this at these meetings a lot, that it's really amazing how, you know, I'll be at a community meeting and I don't think people really know what my connection to Met Council or Metro Transit is at these, but they'll talk about how much better it is at Franklin, or how much more comfortable they are on the train, or how much better it is at the Midtown station, but also the Uptown station. It's just been like a 180 in the contacts and the feedback that I've been hearing. So I just want to commend y'all. It's really working. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, John, then Judy.
Yep.
Because John was both, yeah.
Actually, I was just talking to Paul's point. People do read it. I read everything that's on the station, and my girls, when they're with me, they ask me questions. Because first of all, they can't wear their earbuds if they're on the train. I just tell them, because you got to pay attention. You know, they have some responsibilities too, but we do read them, and they comment on and ask me about them, and so I think it is. You keep a consistent message, I think it does work.
Yeah, thank you. Judy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things, you know, and I know Lesley and I have been communicating about response. There were, you know, I got an email from somebody, great proponent of transit, rides it and all the things, but just, calls went in and I just don't think there was a loop back. And so, just making sure that we've got the resources we need for, as a quick turnaround, whether it's non-emergency or not emergency, right? That just people are responded to. And so if there's anything more we can do to help support in that arena, that'd be great, because that's also building confidence, just to know that somebody was heard and we recognized what they witnessed or whatever, good, bad, or indifferent, and they got a response within whatever an acceptable amount of time is. That'd be good. I would also say, I agree with everything that's been said about your work and where we're going, and I will just tell, you all know this, but it's just worth saying, the problem isn't going away though. We are managing it because we're putting pressure against it. So, we can't ever let up, because the problem will just creep back. And to the chief's point, and we all know this, but it's so worth saying in public wherever we are, is that this problem is everybody's problem. It's showing up where we are, and we're meeting it where it's at. But, it's not like a box check, like, okay, crime's down this much, we're doing our job. No, I mean, they really need continuous support from us, and we can't be naive, of course, that, drug abuse, gang activity, which I'll ask us separately, what are the gangs up to? Because we've got major gangs along our lines, and we know that that is a thing. So I just, appreciate what you're doing, but we know that, well, we get, really good feel-good moments. We have to just know that you guys are still out there every day encountering things that we have to continue to work against. And then last but not least, just as it relates to litter, and I do need to get back out on an LRT ride, so if somebody, Michael, would help me get scheduled. I love having community support. I want to take another ride, because I think it was about a year ago that I was out, and I'd like to just see the changes that are taking place. I will just say, on my ride on the blue line, I was like, oh, look at all those orange dots on the station at one of the stations, I think, in your district. Could be anywhere, I'm just saying where I was. And I was astounded by the hundreds, if not thousands. It was a lot strewn in the tracks. And then I was pointed in the direction of a box way down somewhere in a fence that was maybe this big that people could put them in, which clearly there's not enough signage or direction for that to happen. The box would be overflowing. And I don't know if that problem has lessened at all, but I think a couple of things. I guess that's our responsibility now, to pick up those needles and the discard. And that's, I get it, but I also want to say I really believe in the needle program. I know it's really helping to save lives. But I also know that they're coming from Hennepin County or counties, and I'd really just appreciate if there was some way that we could partner in that effort to just, so our resources weren't taken, picking up, part of their system to help people. I think there needs to be partnership in these things. So, maybe we have to be trained specially in how to manage all of that hazardous material. I would imagine they have people that could do that too, but those are one of those things when you're just out on the line and you're like, wow, what is asked and expected of our transit people it's just kind of mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing.
And it ticked me off a little bit, because it's just like, seriously, we could really use some help in even these things as far as managing hazardous material, helping to educate the people that are needing the help, that are using the needles. But just, help that problem, because that one, garbage and things, that's one thing, cigarette butts and all that, but that one was startling to me. So I just want to say that in public, that if the counties, whoever the agencies are, partners are, I'm not criticizing the program. I've always understood it, but it's showing up on our platforms, and I just like some help on that as well.
Councilman McKenna.
Yeah, and thank you all for this, for the extensive presentation. I think one thing of interest to me, and whether this is at Committee of the Whole or Transportation, it would be really helpful, I think, to hear from some of our TSIP partners now that the program is rolled out. And so hearing what they're seeing, what's working, that would be really wonderful if we could have that at a future meeting.
Yeah, great. I was reflecting on this partnership idea, and I've spent a lot of my life on actual highway safety, not just bus safety. There's a program statewide called TCD, people probably heard of it, 2-0 death. And it had 4 E's. And just think about these messaging. And the fact that it's so repeated so much. There's education, enforcement, emergency response, and engineering. You know, not one thing. But the fact that TCD was embraced not just by the state agency, by every county, every jurisdiction, everybody knew it, you know, and it was like, we focused on these goals. And I just think pride in our ride is a community value, not just transit. And I think we need to be thinking about this campaign. How can we broaden it? This is a Councilmember Pacheco idea, like that 4 blocks around the stations. We need to get that pride and that responsibility to be even bigger. I mean, it's just a thought where we ultimately need to go, because we can't just say somebody else needs to do it. We need to bring them along. You know, these are our partners, and you know, the other thing I'd say about 2-0 death is like, well, how can you have 0 as a goal? I mean, that'll never happen. You know, and the point is, if you don't have 0 as a goal, what goal are you gonna choose? We're gonna kill 100 people? You know, no. We actually brought deaths in this state down from 1,000 to 400 with this concerted effort. So we actually made tangible results, but now it's come back. So, you know, keeping our foot on the gas, I guess. And anyway, so now I'm on my little soapbox. I know, Deb, you have it coming.
Mine is very, very quick. I think because our listening sessions, and I know you participated as well, Chair, with some of those, were very successful and very good and well received in the community. We'll likely be having more and encouraging council members to participate. You know, you can, as long as you want, you can go spend a day, you can go spend an hour. I think we want people up, and I'd encourage everyone to go out and take a ride on the light rail. I mean, you can go do it, see for yourselves and see what's working and what's not.
And you know what, you really learn something,
You learn,
not just
that's where
from
it comes
customers, but from our own transit employees.
Yes.
They check out the middle car, and then
One
you
of
do,
our
and
best
then you
days.
check out the other, I mean, it's.
Mr. Just sorry with this, I meant to do this when I was talking earlier, but one, I did have a question, maybe it's for this team here, maybe it's for the chief or for the director, but one of the things I'm not seeing as much in the community are sort of the community outreach people. And I just don't know, are we rethinking that, or is it, yeah, if someone can comment on it. Because they're, in the part of where I live and represent, they are really valued. And so I just haven't been seeing them as much.
Do you mean like the Metro Transit Community Outreach Team?
More of the transit police. So maybe
the
this
head
is,
team.
yeah. So maybe this is a question more for the chief of the police thing. And I don't know exactly what these folks are called, community outreach
Chair?
coordinators or something.
Go ahead, Chief.
Councilmember, yes, we do have our HAT team, our homeless action team that does team up with social working organizations such as Radius Health and other community-based partners, and they do go out there. We started last year, we were doing them more than we have recently, but we still occasionally do have outreach programs. So we'll set up in the Mall of America, we'll meet people at the end line, we'll then clean the stations, we'll direct them into the Mall of America to offer them services, whichever they may need.
Cool, and so that's through the HAT team, is that?
That is with our homeless action team.
Okay, and so that's some sworn and some civilian?
Well, no, that's all sworn. However, they do have partnerships with the community-based organizations they bring in, such as Radius Health, for an example, that has social workers. And then we offer the services that people need, whether it's unsheltered individuals, people who suffer a mental health crisis, or substance abuse. At that point, that's when we can actually direct them toward a social worker to get them that long-term help that they need if they're seeking it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, John, Sophia, Chief, great work. We want to hear more, and you have no shortage of ideas or passion for this group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lesley, is that, that's the program. All right, we'll eat up whatever you serve. Thanks, everybody, for coming. This obviously is not just quarterly. We are engaged in these efforts every week. I just want to underscore what Councilmember Barber said, or Councilmember Johnson, ride-alongs, riding the train, being visible. There's also a great day of transit coming, so, there's a schedule of opportunities to experience Buffalo. So I really encourage everyone. And thank you for being so involved in this important work. With that, we have 35 minutes to your day. This meeting's adjourned.